Welcome to the State of Mind Virtual Speaker Series. This series has been developed to provide education and support to youth, caregivers, and educators during this challenging time. This series is a collaboration between two local nonprofits, 1 in 5 and MindPeace, and various community mental health partners. We're glad you're here to educate yourself and to learn how to keep your brain in a healthy state of mind.
Hello, and thank you for joining me for this State of Mind speaker series brought to you by 1 in 5 and MindPeace. My name is Dr. Anne-Louise Lockhart, and I'm the president and owner of A New Day Pediatric Psychology, as well as a pediatric psychologist and parent coach. So today I'm going to be talking to you about mental health routines during uncertain times. So thanks for joining. So let's talk about why this current period is so impactful to our mental health. One of the things that I see and that I've noticed for myself as well as the clients who I see is the monotony. The same thing every single day. Wake up, go to work or work from home, have the same routine, going nowhere, having limited places that you can go. There's not a lot of variety. Many people are used to summer vacations, traveling, doing summer school and camps, and the monotony is very different for most of us. And most of us probably are going into 3-4 months, maybe even 5 months of being quarantined or isolated or just life not being as normal. So the monotony is a big reason why this current period is so impactful for our mental health. Our mental state of mind needs variety and flexibility and to adapt to changing situations. Another reason is that we're not getting a break. Like we're constantly getting bombarded by things in the news, in the media, in social media, about the virus, about the injustices that are going on right now. It's constant. It's a constant type of inflow of information from every place, and we're not getting a break from it. The ways that we would normally take a break and check out by having dinner with friends, going camping, going on a trip, just going to a restaurant is being impacted because we can't do the things we would normally do. And then the things that we probably can still do, limited, then they're changed in some way. So whether we're going out to a store, but we can't maybe go to the dressing room, or we feel like now we have to wear masks, and so now we're not able to interact with people like we normally would, and people just are more standoffish because they're too afraid to getting close. So we're not getting a break, and then the things that we do to take a break are not the same. Another thing is that our routine is disrupted. So we're not doing things in a set routine, and they're constantly being interrupted because of lack of physical or mental activity, and kids are going to bed later, they're waking up later, we're not feeling as tired because we're not as busy. And so that whole routine of getting up, getting dressed, commuting, going, dropping kids off to do activities or friend's house or any of those kinds of things, those routines are not happening in the same way. We also don't have a set schedule. So maybe many of us in the beginning were like gung-ho and had our routines and our schedules really set by the minute and the hour. And now we're like, whatever, I kept the kids alive and they're clothed, so we're good to go. Maybe we haven't bathed in 3 days. My hair hasn't been washed for 2 months. You know what? We're alive. And so that not having a set schedule like we know to have one is very disruptive. Also, things remain uncertain. There is no end in sight. And every time we think that things are going to end, they continue. And, the thing is, yes, isolation and quarantining and not knowing what to expect next is inconvenient. But just because it's inconvenient, it doesn't mean that the quarantine or that the pandemic has ended. And so those things that are uncertain, when is it going to end? When is life going to return as normal? Those are things that are so hard for our brain to process because we don't have any answers. And every day we're given a different message, and we really don't know what that's going to look like in another week, another month, or how that looks when our kids, or if they go back to school as normal. The other part is why I think this period is so impactful for our mental health is something that I've been experiencing, and I experienced in the beginning and a little bit now, probably not as much, but is the surrealness, the unreal feeling of the whole thing. I remember when it first happened, I kept thinking, what, a virus that's impacting the world that we don't have a cure for it? Where did it come from? Like, it just feels like a movie. And I love movies. I love sci-fi movies. I love pandemic movies. I love natural disaster movies. I like a lot of those kinds of things, but I like it in like fiction. I don't want to live it. And so the fact that it feels surreal and not like it's our real life, it just feels off in some way. And that's another way that our mental health is impacted, because our brain is trying to make sense of something that really doesn't make sense. And then the last thing I think is that we're unsure of the ending. We don't know when it's going to end, and we don't know what that's going to look like when it ends. So we're hoping that it ends by blank date. We were hoping that back in the spring, right? By the time May hit, kids could finish off school and graduate. Or by the time summer hit, we can have vacations and things will be open. Or by the time the fall hits, we can go back to school. Like we're so uncertain, the ending keeps getting pushed and we're just unsure of it. And so that's a really big portion and part of why our mental health is so impacted. So it's the monotony, it's not getting the break. Our routines are disrupted. We don't have a schedule. Things are uncertain. It's surreal or unreal, and we're unsure of the ending. And those are all the reasons why our mental health is being really significantly impacted. So, what is the data around the impact on mental health of things like this? Well, that's a good question, because we don't really know. So, 1 in 5 children in general suffers from a mental health disorder in the United States. And that includes depression, anxiety, Tourette's, autism spectrum disorder, some type of behavioral disorder, ADHD. These are all 1 in 5 children are impacted by mental health. And so the other thing is that when parents' mental health is impacted, it impacts their child, because the whole concept of mirroring means that our brain picks up on or reflects the people who are closest to us in our environment. So that's our caregivers, those are our parents, our grandparents, our nannies, our siblings. All of those individuals impact our mental health. So we don't know what happens when there's a global pandemic. We haven't experienced that in 100 years. So we don't really know in modern times what the true impact really is. We are learning just like you guys are. We're kind of winging it. Even the professionals in these areas don't really fully understand what the economic, the financial, the educational, the developmental, the relational effects are going to be. We're going to be feeling this for a long time. And from history, pandemics last 2 to 4 years. So what does that look like in terms of our mental health? I mean, I think that one of the things that it means is that the significant isolation from other people and lack of social contact is going to have a huge impact on our social isolation and relationships. It's going to have a huge impact on anxiety and depression. It's going to have a huge impact on communication skills and the way that we reciprocate and bounce back ideas, because we've been doing it through multiple screens. So I think especially for our children, that's going to be impactful, because developmental period, there's huge things that go on in a toddler, a baby, a young child. There's many things that can go on within a 2-week time period, a 2-month versus 4-month. I mean, so I think we're going to see a lot of impacts that I don't even really know we fully understand the kind of data that's going to come from this. So what can we do about this in our daily routines? So I think one of the things is to have a schedule, and it doesn't need to be a strict schedule. We could do away with those. We could do away with the, I'm going to minute by minute, hour by hour, plan every single thing my kid is doing and have arts and crafts and reading and study time and math time. It doesn't have to be strict. It's not that serious. We're going to understand that kids are going to be behind this next academic school year, and they're probably going to feel the effects for quite some time. And so we have to make the adjustments. But having a schedule is going to be beneficial for our state of mind as parents, as well as for our children. Kids thrive with structure and they do need it. Another part is, again, because I said it's not that serious, we want to be flexible. We want to be able to know that this is the general schedule that we have. This is the general agenda that we have, but we need to be flexible within it. So, if your kids normally go to bed at 8:30 on a typical school night when things were normal, then you can adjust it an hour and a half later. Kids are going to be less fatigued because they're less engaged, they're less mentally stimulated. So it's okay to wing it a little bit, and that they don't have to eat and sleep and nap at exactly the same time. Okay. The other part of it is to stay connected. I had a parent recently ask me that, I keep hearing this word connected. What does that even mean? And I'm like, well, I think we take certain words and lingos for granted. And part of staying connected is, it could be the small things like eye contact with your child, smiling, putting your hand on their shoulder, holding their hand, cuddle time, playing with them, engaging in a build, blocks and coloring and drawing. It can be going for a walk together, making a meal together, doing a special errand, or going for a drive together. It could be creating something new, a new memory, a new tradition, taking pictures, playing dress up. So staying connected are all of those things. And then it goes back to just talking to your child. How does your child feel about this stuff? What kinds of questions do they have about all the scariness that's going on during these uncertain times? How are they feeling about the stuff they're seeing on the news, or the things they're hearing you talk about that's on the news, whether it's COVID, whether it's the racism and injustices, whether it's the stuff that they're talking about in terms of schools opening, all these uncertainties. Talk to them about it. Have a conversation. That's what connection is. Staying regulated is another big piece, because in order for a child to be self-regulated, they need a caregiver, a parent, who is going to show them through co-regulation. And co-regulation means that we keep ourselves balanced and in tune with our environment, so that we understand how these uncertain times are impacting us, so that we can then reflect the right things and the effective things to our child, so that they can feel regulated themselves. So co-regulation behavior may include things like watching your tone of voice. So instead of yelling, you're keeping calm. Instead of having this, scowl and this angry face that they interpret as a threat, as an adversary, you're softening your eyes, you're softening your facial expressions, so that they feel like, oh, we're allies. We're on the same team. There's no need to fight. There's no need to disagree. We are in this together. Meeting your parent needs. Now again, because a lot of our things that we normally do are disrupted, meeting your own parent needs is going to be so important, which means finding ways and creative and new ways to do things that help you feel balanced and in control and calm and connected to other people. So whether it's Zoom get-togethers with your best friends, with your family, whether it's shopping online responsibly, whether it's going for a walk, watching videos, learning a new skill, or just resting, meeting your parent needs are so important in order to help with your daily routine. So those are going to be things that we do to help with our daily routine. And then one of the most important things, I think, is not to take your children's behaviors personally. And that means that when they're having a tantrum, when they're copying an attitude, when they have a tone that you don't appreciate, parents often think, they are defying me, they're disrespecting me, they're manipulating me, they're trying to ruin my day. No. Kids are not that conniving. And their behavior is often being reflected because they're dysregulated themselves. So being able to understand that and knowing that I shouldn't take this personally. So what can we do about our daily routine? We can make sure we have a schedule, remain flexible, stay connected, stay regulated with your child. Make sure you meet your parent needs and be aware of the mirroring thing in terms of how we reflect and how people reflect off of us. And then don't take your children's behaviors so personally. All right, so when should you seek help? When your behavior, your emotions, your reactions to your children's everyday child behaviors become so intense and you feel so out of control, you might need to seek help from a mental health provider or a parent coach. When you feel like you are just not functioning and you are being impaired with your functioning, you should really seek further support and help. Same goes for your kids. If you feel like your children's tantrums and behaviors and meltdowns and emotions and thoughts and words are beyond what is normal and typical for them, seek help. A lot of their behaviors and reactions and emotions are typical given this very atypical situation. This is a very abnormal time that we're in. So any reaction is going to be expected, whether you're extremely productive and you actually feel rejuvenated, or you feel defeated and unproductive. All of those reactions are normal because this is abnormal. Being in a pandemic with significant injustices going on, with all this unsure kind of feelings and thinking, those are all, it's going to disrupt your system, and it's okay. However you react, however you respond, however you think, those are all normal reactions. However, if you feel like it's become so disruptive that you just aren't able to function like you normally do, or your child isn't functioning like they normally do, then seeking additional help is very important. If you are feeling out of control, they're out of control, your home is feeling unbalanced, all of those are reasons to seek out support, because maybe you just need to have someone to listen to you and to vent. Maybe your child just needs someone to process things with because they're home with you and their siblings all day long. So just getting an outside view and outside voice can be helpful. And that is when you should really seek out that, you know what, we're going stir crazy here. We're feeling like we're out of control. It's okay to seek that help. Seeking help is a sign of strength. All right, so how can you help your kids? So connect with them in all the ways I mentioned: eye contact, smiling, touch on the shoulder, hand holding, playing a game, drawing together, going for a drive together, cooking together, talking, journaling. Connect with them. That goes so far in helping to help your kids. Limit screen time. Now, this is a tough one, okay? I get it. You're home all day long. You're up and awake for hours upon hours. There's nothing else to keep them busy. There's no camps. There's no summer school. You're working from home. Being on the screen is such a great distractor and babysitter. The problem, though, is that extended screen time is not good for their eyes. It's not good for their brain. It's not good for their learning. And it's definitely not good for self-regulation. Kids who spend a lot of time on the screen will be more dysregulated, more irritable, more on edge. They're going to have a harder time with focusing, in attention, and balancing all of those things because they're not going to want to end it. So when it's time to transition to something else, they're going to have a major, major hard time with it. If your sleep routine and your child's sleep routine is off, that's going to be something to address. Help your kids keep a regulated and balanced sleep routine, because that's going to be very helpful for them so that they feel regulated, they feel in control, and they're able to not get so off base and off kilter. And those things are going to be interesting and important for them, because when they are out of sleep routine and they're not able to balance themselves, you're going to see more grumpiness, more irritability, more meltdowns, more tantrums. They're going to feel dysregulated. Sleep is rejuvenating, and sleep is a balancing thing for your body. We need sleep, and we need quality sleep. So making sure they have a good sleep routine is going to be important. Doing special things together. Create new memories, create new routines, new things that you guys do. Introduce them to new things. And that way you create an experience that, instead of being miserable and everybody can't wait for it to end, when you can do things together and create new memories and new traditions, that's what your child is going to hold on to. They're not going to remember all the horribleness of everything that was going on during this time. They're going to see it in light of how their parent or caregiver responded to them and to the situation and their environment. So, in summary, kind of how you help your kids: connect with them, limit their screen time, watch their sleep routine and yours, because you're going to be cranky if you don't get your sleep, do special things together, and create new routines, new moments, new traditions together, because those are all things that are going to be important to help them get through this, and that's the memory they're going to hold on to. Now, in closing, I want to share with you a special story that I have. When I was 17 years old, I grew up in the Caribbean, and I was my senior year of high school, 3 weeks in, and we got hit by a Category 5 hurricane. And we had never been hit by one in 100 years. Okay, so those who were living didn't have any memory of ever being disrupted or having their life disrupted by a hurricane. It was always minor disruptions, nothing major. So anyway, our island was hit. It devastated our island. My family lost their business through looting, through the disaster of the elements of the nature, and our home was ripped apart. And we were homeless. We were under martial law. There was looting. There was no government. There was no school for a time, no electricity. We had to eat military food and Red Cross food. The situation was miserable. I even got dengue fever, my mom and I did, because we got bit by infected mosquitoes. The whole situation was terrible. And not to mention, this is my senior year of high school. But the way my mom handled it, when I wanted to escape and come to the States, because I wanted to say, I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. There's no reason why we should be going through this. Let's go to Florida where it's safer, okay? My mom told me, we can't just run away from our problems. We have to learn how to persist. Now, those may not be her exact words, but that is what I remember. Those are the memories I'm holding on to. I remembered the message that I received, the feeling that I received from her was, yes, this is tough. This is hard. We have never gone through this. But we don't run away from hard things. We persist. And although I didn't like that message as a 17-year-old girl, that was the most important message I could have been shared, or that I could have heard. And that stuck with me. And although most of my high school years and junior high years, my academics were not strong at all, I was not motivated for school. My senior year of high school, when we finally got back to school, I persisted. And I became stronger and focused. And I ended up getting straight A's in everything, multiple awards at graduation, and I was able to go on to college because of the message my mom shared with me, because we can persist when things are hard, and we can overcome things when they're difficult. And that's what I learned. That's what she taught me. And that is what I've held on to many, many years later, up until now even. So what I want to encourage you is that mental health routines during uncertain times are so important. Our kids look to us to get encouragement, to get strength, and to serve. And we serve as a model for them in terms of how to handle these situations. We will get through this. So in closing, thank you for spending time with me. Please visit the 1 in 5 and Mind Peace websites for additional resources and more state of mind videos. And check out my website at anewdaysa.com. That's anewdaysa.com. And I'm also very active on Instagram at dr.annlouise.lockhart. Thank you for spending this time with me. I wish you the best. Bye.
A special thank you to our State of Mind speakers and to you for joining us. More videos and educational resources can be found at 1 in 5's website. If you feel like you or your child is in need of professional support, therapists are available. Please refer to MindPeace's school-based or community resource page. For a mental health crisis or emergencies, patients and families are encouraged to contact their current mental health provider first. This allows the mental health provider who knows your child best to provide support and direction. If your child does not have a mental health provider and they are experiencing a non-life-threatening mental health crisis, you are encouraged to contact the Psychiatric Intake Response Center at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. 513-636-4124. Call 911 or go to the emergency department if you are experiencing a medical emergency, a life-threatening mental health crisis, or are directed to go there by a medical provider. This will help limit the spread of COVID-19 in our community and allow our emergency departments to care for patients with the most critical needs first.